This is our first live stream event. Hopefully you're seeing us on our YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. Today's live stream is going to be an introduction to collocations, and we're going to have some examples, explain what collocations are, and hopefully give you some ideas as to how valuable collocations are for expanding your vocabulary. So we're going to start now with an introduction to collocations. So what is a collocation? A collocation is a group of words commonly used together in everyday speech. Now, there are lots of different kinds of collocations or types of collocations. Remember that these are not phrasal verbs, they are not idioms, they're just words that have a common association in the English language, and they have come to be used together so naturally that native English speakers don't even have to think about it. So it's a great way of expanding your vocabulary. So these are some of the types, the main types of collocations. There are some others, but these are the primary ones. They are the adverb plus adjective, the noun plus verb, the adjective plus noun, verb plus noun, noun plus noun, and verb plus adverb. So we're just going to look at some examples of each one of these types of collocations. So first we have the adverb and adjective. And here are just two very, very popular collocations using an adverb and an adjective. Heavily subsidized. Heavily subsidized. You'll hear that a lot maybe in politics or in government talks about some welfare systems or things to do with healthcare and things like that. The next one is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, absolutely you'll find used a lot in the English language, and it's just it's an emphatic term just to say that something was very beautiful or very whatever it's attached to. Now the next one. This is an adjective and a noun. So adjective plus noun. The first one is curly hair. Curly hair. Our second one is heavy rain. Heavy rain. So for example, you wouldn't hear weighty rain or something like that. You know, these are just things that people have come to use to say that the rain is heavy and to describe the noun this way. Our next one. This is a noun plus a noun. A noun plus a noun. The first one is a chain of events. Chain of events. So just to be clear that you wouldn't use a string of events, for example. Now there's nothing grammatically wrong with saying a string of events, but as a native speaker and in the English language, a chain of events is just a popular phrase, and this is a popular collocation. It's a noun plus a noun. Our next one is a turn of phrase. If someone is a very good speaker, very articulate, good at making speeches, you might say that they have a very good turn of phrase. It's a way of using the English language very well, being very confident with it. So our next collocation group is a noun plus verb. A noun plus a verb. Lions roar is our first one. Lions roar. So we don't say lions shout or lions scream or anything like that. So it's lions roar. Our second one is train departs. So in travel, you'll hear people saying your train departs, or you would hear, say, for example, your flight takes off. You're less likely to hear people saying your flight departs. You'll hear your flight takes off, but your train departs. You're not going to say your train takes off. So again, they're not grammatically incorrect. It's not wrong to say those things, but it will sound strange if you say them to a native speaker. So our next group is a verb plus a noun. A verb plus a noun. The first is create havoc. Create havoc. Now, havoc, if you don't know, just means chaos or craziness or everything being disordered. And you wouldn't say make havoc. or you wouldn't say build havoc or do havoc. It's create havoc. Our next one then, our next verb and noun is build bridges. Now, build bridges is a term that means to connect with people or to network. You might hear that a lot used in business lingo. You build bridges with people. So you don't make bridges, you don't do bridges, you build bridges. Our next group then is verb and adverb. Verb and adverb. And you'll hear both of these very commonly used. To think clearly. Think clearly. And to act swiftly. To act swiftly. You could say to act quickly, but to act swiftly is a much more common collocation for a native speaker. Our next set is, so that's the end, that's the 6. So what is a collocation? So just to wrap up what we covered before we move on to some example pages from our website. A collocation, remember then, is a group of words, and these are just a group of words that are commonly and logically used in the English language. Native speakers, they're second nature to them. They don't even have to think about them because they're so used to using them on a day-to-day basis. This is a reusable pattern, and when you learn collocations, as I say, you'll become so used to them that you don't have to think, and you can reuse them again and again. It's good to learn collocations in blocks or groups rather than just learning lists of words or synonyms and then afterwards trying to put them all together with some of these words that they might be used with in everyday English. So learn them in blocks or groups, and this is why you'll see on our website how we've delivered them. And if you learn them in this way, you will avoid using what we call the wrong words. As I said, they're not grammatically wrong, but they will sound very strange to native English speakers if you say, for example, to make havoc or to do bridges or lions shout. So it's the way that things go together. And if you learn them together, you will avoid using the wrong words. Okay, so we're going to have a look at some examples now from our website. Now on our website, if you haven't visited yet, we have thousands of pages of content, and it's all completely free to use. And it's all organized, as you'll see in our table of contents on the left-hand side of the screen. And we have roughly 70 pages at the moment of collocations, and they have maybe 10 to 20 entries. So there's hundreds and hundreds of collocations for you to learn. So this is a popular one then, collocations with the word bear. And in this case, it's the bear is mostly used as a verb. So the first one we have is to bear witness. To bear witness. And this means to show or provide evidence that something exists or is true, or make a statement to that effect. We'll just read out some examples. To bear witness, the demonstrations on the streets bear witness to the anger felt by those living under that regime. Our beautiful new office building bears witness to the spectacular growth of the company. Susan was accused of bearing false witness at the trial and is now facing a prison sentence herself. Now you could say, of course, in the past tense, as someone bore witness to. But once you learn that core collocation to bear witness, you'll come to see how useful it is. So to bear fruit is our next one. The collocation bears fruit, in a literal sense, refers to a tree or plant that produces fruit. That meaning is extended figuratively to refer to something that produces successful or positive results. So if you know that term fruitful, if something is fruitful, it means it delivers positive results. So to bear fruit means that something comes good for you, something delivers positive results. So our examples, I love picking and eating fresh apples. So I hope my apple tree will bear fruit this summer. My months of effort eventually bore fruit when I got the deal over the line. It was a big investment I made in that startup business, but I hope it will bear fruit in the next few years. A third collocation with bear then. So this is to bear something is to endure it or to persevere, And if you say, I can bear it or I can't bear something, it means that you are able or unable to tolerate or accept something, somebody or something. So it's about endurance or perseverance. Our examples: I don't know how Tom can bear being around her. She would drive me mad. I could never be a doctor. I can't bear the sight of blood. Jane couldn't bear the thought of going into work this morning, so she called in sick. Our next collocation with bear is to bear the cost or the burden or the responsibility. So again, this is to endure or to take accountability for somebody or something. It is often associated with suffering the consequences of an action. Some examples: Adam damaged my car, but at least he said he would bear the cost of fixing it. Since my wife lost her job, I've had to bear the burden of providing for the family alone. I don't mind bearing the responsibility of training new recruits. I like a challenge. She bore no responsibility for what happened. It was all my fault. Our next collocation with bear is to bear arms. To bear arms. And this means to possess or carry a weapon. So you're bearing something as in carrying. So you can see the connection with the word bear, that you're bearing responsibility, you're bearing the burden. It's about carrying things, whether that's physically or figuratively. The meaning sort of carries through when you use bear. So our examples with to bear arms: under the Second Amendment, citizens in the United States have the right to bear arms. Police are concerned that some of the protesters in the crowd may be bearing arms. When faced with a foreign invader, people in the region bore arms rather than accepting defeat. So there are some of our examples with bear. At the top of each of these pages, there is a next or previous button. And I think there are 4 pages for the collocations with bear. So there's lots of content there. But at the moment, we're going to move on to a different collocation. And this one is collocations with the word get. So obviously, it's a very common verb, to get something. Our first one is got you, often shortens as gotcha. And a lot of these examples, all of the examples actually have gotcha in them. So when you say got you or gotcha, this expresses pleasure in getting the better of somebody or catching them out. In this context, it can be used as a pejorative term, so almost like you triumph over them by saying, ha, gotcha. It can also be used to express understanding of what somebody is telling you. So some examples. Gotcha, the police officer yelled as he caught the fleeing thief. The reporter put the politician on the spot with a real gotcha question. So remember that gotcha is just a spelling of got you, just combined and pronounced really fast. I can't take that news organization seriously. They just engage in gotcha journalism. Person A: I want you to call the client and explain the situation to him carefully. Person B: gotcha. I'll get right on it. This last one, gotcha, is saying, I understand you. I got you. Okay, you might hear people saying that oh, I get you. I get what you're saying. That just means that they understand. The next collocation with get is get a raise. Okay, if you get a raise, you earn or are rewarded with an increase in salary. Our examples: I've been trying for months to get a raise, but the boss keeps giving me excuses about why it's not possible. It's written into my contract that I will automatically be getting a raise once I've been here for 2 years. Lisa got a raise, but she still felt undervalued at that company and ended up stepping down from her position. Our next collocation with get is get the message. Get the message. When you get the message, you understand something that is not being said directly. So something that's implied or is inferred in what's being said or what's happened. The company never told me that I didn't get the job, but when they didn't return my phone calls, I got the message. I have no interest in being friends with Trevor. I wish he would just get the message and leave me alone. After recent fines for poor timekeeping, I think staff are finally getting the message that lateness will not be tolerated. Our next collocation with get is get the sack. To get the sack means to be dismissed from a job or task. So to be fired, to be let go is also another synonym for get the sack. Our examples: thank goodness I managed to fix my error in time. I was so close to getting the sack. Person A: where's Susan? I haven't seen her all week. Person B: she doesn't work here anymore. She got the sack. You need to start pulling your weight around here. You'll get the sack if you carry on like this. Okay, so there's some collocations with get. Again, there are more pages in these documents. A lot of our pages on the website are multi-page documents, so do make sure that you check the next page or previous page buttons on each page. Our next collocation set is with the word mark. Again, very common, very popular, so you'll hear this a lot. First collocation with mark is to mark an occasion or a festival. When you mark an occasion or a festival, you do something to recognize or celebrate it. Our examples: it was our wedding anniversary today, so we had a nice meal to mark the occasion. Friday will be 10 years to the day since I first opened this business. We will be marking the occasion with a special sale. Traditionally, one of the things people do to mark the festival of Holi is to light bonfires. Our next collocation with mark is mark territory, or mark your territory. If you mark your territory, you lay claim to a particular area, sphere, or space. Examples: you are the boss now. You should be marking your territory instead of letting others in the office influence your decisions. Gangs in that part of the city tend to mark their territory with graffiti. The two rival companies marked their respective territories and agreed to stick to them. Our next collocation with mark is marks the end of, or to mark the end of. If something marks the end of something, it represents or signifies its conclusion. Examples: this large investment I've secured marks the end of my years to get my business up and running. Losing my job marked the end of my time in China. I will now return home with my family. Our profits increased last month, marking the end of a long run of heavy losses. Our next collocation with mark is leave your mark, to leave your mark. If you leave your mark, you have a significant or lasting impact on something or somebody. Examples: the recession will certainly leave its mark on our business, so we must find a way to soften the blow. I wouldn't like to step down from this role without first leaving my mark on the company in some way. Maria was only in Ireland for a couple of months, but she certainly left her mark on me in that time. We became great friends. Hit or miss the mark. If you were to hit or miss the mark, you would achieve or not achieve your intended result. Examples: your speech really hit the mark. The audience loved it. We clearly missed the mark with that advertising campaign. Sales actually went down. Her criticism was obviously intended to hurt my feelings, but it ended up missing its mark because it did not bother me at all. Okay, so there are some of our collocation examples. Remember, at the end of each of our pages as well, there are further suggestions, and we try and keep these relevant and to keep you interested in what else connects to what you've just read. Okay, remember that absolutely everything on the website is free, And you're always free to ask us questions via our Facebook page or on any of the comment section on any of our YouTube videos. If anyone has any questions now, we are open to questions if you want to use the comment section. But if you want any follow-up to the video, this will be going up on YouTube anyway, and you can make note of any collocations you've heard or any of you know, or any that you might be unsure of. People get them mixed up sometimes with phrasal verbs or with idioms. So there are also some things that we'll be looking at as we move forward. Phrasal verbs are very, very popular amongst native speakers. It's very, very valuable to learn them as well. So just different parts of speech. And I say collocations is very valuable for expanding your vocabulary. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, we're going to wrap up here, I think. Okay, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. And we hope to see you again soon on our next live session on EnglishLogica.com. In the meantime, please visit the website, EnglishLogica.com. And at any stage, you can contact us via our social media, our Facebook page, Twitter, or in the comments section on YouTube. Thank you very much. Goodbye.